Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. I was reading in the Bhagavatam today that when we hear about Krishna every day regularly, especially this Bhagavatam, then as we go through the cantos, gradually our consciousness becomes purified and we hear about all the different kinds of devotees and relationships with all the different forms of incarnations of Krishna, finally resulting in the 10th canto, in which the original form of God in all of his incarnations is there. And the Bhagavatam makes us eligible to find out who we are in the spiritual world, ultimately. Not everyone is in the same position. Not our original relationship with Krishna doesn't change. But whatever that relationship is, it comes out naturally by chanting Hare Krishna regularly and by hearing the Srimad-Bhagavatam regularly. So, and I was reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita this morning in the recording for the audiobook, and Bhakta Chris, who has been coming the last couple of days, had a little bit of a miracle. He made a plan to come and join us in a month after he extricated himself in different ways from different material connections. Not that they have to give up those material connections, but changing your focus. And his boss just said, okay, you can take the day off, and I think he's, So then I said, that's nice, and I told all the devotees here to give him blessings. And that reminded me of the reading we had today about Maharaj Prataparudra. Maharaj Prataparudra was a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya. And he considered Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya his spiritual master, even from the time before Lord Chaitanya came to Jagannath Puri. So, from hearing from Ramananda Roy and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he became a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya. Of course, he's an eternal associate of Lord Chaitanya. And so he asked Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, please try to make an arrangement with the Lord so I can get his darshan, get his personal, to meet him personally. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya approached Lord Chaitanya and he said, Maharaj Prataparudra is such a devotee of yours, and he's begging if he can meet you. And Lord Chaitanya said, for a sannyasi to meet a king is like meeting a snake. And if you ever ask me again, I'll leave this place forever. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was completely flummoxed. He didn't know what to say. And then, when Ramananda Roy came, because he came before King Prataparudra, because his capital was close by, so Ramananda Roy came before the king came, and he told Lord Chaitanya, I've never seen devotion for you like from Maharaj Prataparudra. He gave me full pension. Full means full salary, pension, and he blessed me and told me to go and live with the Lord and serve him at his lotus feet. And while he was saying those things, tears was coming from his eyes, and he was exhibiting symptoms of pure love of God. So Lord Chaitanya, after Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, after he had responded to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya like that, when he heard this, his heart softened a little bit. And then later, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya gave instructions to Maharaj Prataparudra what to do. He said, when Lord Chaitanya needs to rest after the Rath Yatra, dancing in Rath Yatra, he goes to the gardens of Gundicha temple, and he'll rest there. So at that time you go there, no kingly dress, just like a mendicant. You go there and massage the Lord's feet and chant the 5 chapters of the Bhagavatam, discussing the relationship between Krishna and the gopis, and then you'll get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. And in the purports, Prabhupada made this wonderful point about how we get the mercy of the Lord through the mercy of the devotees. You can't get the mercy of the Lord without getting the mercy of the devotees. So we should never do anything independently. We should always ask him. Even Lord Chaitanya wouldn't go anywhere or do anything unless he would get the permission of his devotees. Okay, Hare Krishna. So that's why we're here, and that's why all of us are giving our blessings to Bhakta Chris, that his new plan may be fully successful, and he can come and be a beaming light for spreading Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. Okay, Srila Sanatana Goswami has written this wonderful prayer glorifying the Srimad-Bhagavatam and telling all about its qualities. I know all of you out in cyberspace has heard many times this prayer, but repetition of a good thing is a good thing. So it goes like this. Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kalidwan Joditaditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad-Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Madsangin Madguru Mad Mahadana Mad Nistadaga Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadutadayin atini chochata kada hanamun chagadachin mam premnarit kantayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So on this Independence Day, July 4th, 2019, when America apparently got independence, and now they're realizing they're not really as independent as they thought. Anyway, I won't go into the details of that. But here we are, getting real independence of the material modes of nature. We're reading from the 7th canto, 15th chapter, which, by the way, is the last chapter of the 7th canto. We're moving right along. We're going to be going to the 8th canto pretty soon. Instructions for civilized human beings. And we're starting with chapter 4. With text 4, sorry. If one arranges to feed many brahmanas or relatives during the Shraddha ceremony, there will be discrepancies in the time, place, respectability, and ingredients, the person to be worshipped, and the method of offering worship. Purport: Narada Muni has prohibited unnecessarily gorgeous arrangements to feed relatives or brahmanas during the Shraddha ceremony. Those who are materially opulent spend lavishly during this ceremony. Indians spend especially lavishly on 3 occasions: at the birth of a child, at marriage, and while observing the Shraddha ceremony. But the Shastras prohibit the excessive expenditures involved in inviting many brahmanas and relatives, especially during the Shraddha ceremony. Text 5. When one gets the opportunity of a suitable, auspicious time and place, one should with love offer food prepared with ghee to the deity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then offer the prasad to a suitable person, a Vaishnava or Brahmana. This will be the cause of everlasting prosperity. Text 6. One should offer prasad to the demigods, the saintly persons, one's forefathers, the people in general, one's family members, one's relatives, and one's friends, seeing them all as devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. As mentioned above, it is recommended that everyone distribute prasad, considering every living being a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Even in feeding the poor, one should distribute prasad. In Kali Yuga, there is a scarcity of food almost every year, and thus philanthropists spend lavishly to feed the poor. For this they invent the term Daridra Narayana Seva. This is prohibited. One should distribute sumptuous prasad, considering everyone a part of the Supreme Lord, but one should not juggle words to make a poor man Narayana. Everyone is related to the Supreme Lord, but one should not mistakenly think that because one is related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has become the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. Such a Mayavad philosophy is extremely dangerous, especially for a devotee. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has therefore strictly forbidden us to associate with Mayavadi philosophers. Mayavadi Bhasha Shunile Hoya Sarvanash. If one associates with the Mayavad philosophy, his devotional life is doomed. Text 7. A person fully aware of religious principles should not offer anything like meat, eggs, or fish in the Shraddha ceremony. And even if one is a Kshatriya, he himself should not eat such things. When suitable food prepared with ghee is offered to saintly persons, the function is pleasing to the forefathers and the Supreme Lord, who are never pleased when animals are killed in the name of sacrifice. Text 8. Persons who want to advance in superior religion are advised to give up all envy of other living entities, whether in relationship to the body, words, or mind. There is no religion superior to this. Text 9. Because of an awakening of spiritual knowledge, those who are intelligent in regard to sacrifice, who are actually aware of religious principles, and who are free from material desires, control the self in the fire of spiritual knowledge, or knowledge of the absolute truth. They may give up the process of ritualistic ceremonies. Purport. People are generally very much interested in karmakanda ritualistic ceremonies for elevation to the higher planetary systems. But when one awakens his spiritual knowledge, he becomes uninterested in such elevation and engages himself fully in jnana yagya to find the objective of life. The objective of life is to stop completely the miseries of birth and death and to return home, back to Godhead. When one cultivates knowledge for this purpose, he is considered to be on a higher platform than one who is engaged in karma yagya, or fruitive activities. Text 10. Upon seeing the person engaged in performing the sacrifice, animals meant to be sacrificed are extremely afraid, thinking, this merciless performer of sacrifices, being ignorant of the purpose of sacrifice and being most satisfied by killing others, will surely kill us. Purport. Animal sacrifice in the name of religion is practically all over the world in every established religion. It is said that Lord Jesus Christ, when 12 years old, was shocked to see the Jews sacrificing birds and animals in the synagogues, and that he therefore rejected the Jewish system of religion and started the religious system of Christianity, adhering to the Old Testament commandment, thou shalt not kill. At the present day, however, not only are animals killed in the name of sacrifice, but the killing of animals has increased enormously because of the increasing number of slaughterhouses. Slaughtering animals, either for religion or for food, is most abominable and is condemned herein. Unless one is merciless, one cannot sacrifice animals, either in the name of religion or for food. Text 11. Therefore, day by day, one who is actually aware of religious principles and is not heinously envious of poor animals should happily perform daily sacrifices, and those for certain occasions, with whatever food is available easily by the grace of the Lord. Purport. The word dharmavid, meaning one who knows the actual purpose of religion, is very significant. As explained in Bhagavad Gita 1866, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamikam Sharanam Braja. Becoming Krishna conscious is the topmost stage in understanding of religious principles. One who reaches this stage performs the archana process in devotional service. Anyone, whether a grihastha or a sannyasi, can keep small deities of the Lord suitably packed or, if possible, installed, and thus worship the deities of Radha Krishna, Sita Rama, Lakshmi Narayana, Lord Jagannath, or Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by offering food prepared in ghee and then offering the sanctified prasad to the forefathers, demigods, and other living entities as a matter of routine daily work. All the centers of our Krishna consciousness movement have deity worship programs very nicely going on, in which food is offered to the deity and distributed to the first-class Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, and even to the people in general. This performance of sacrifice brings complete satisfaction. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement engage daily in such transcendental activities. Thus, in our Krishna consciousness movement, there is no question at all of killing animals. Text 12. There are 5 branches of irreligion, appropriately known as irreligion, vidharma, religious principles for which one is unfit, paradharma, pretentious religion, abhasa, analogical religion, upadharma, and cheating religion, chaladharma. One who is aware of real religious life must abandon these 5 as irreligious. Purport. Any religious principles opposed to the principle of surrendering to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, are to be considered religious principles of irregularity or cheating, and one who is actually interested in religion must give them up. One should simply follow the instructions of Krishna and surrender unto him. To do this, of course, one needs very good intelligence, which may be awakened after many, many births through good association with devotees and the practice of Krishna consciousness. Everything but the principle of religion recommended by Krishna, Sarvadharman Parityaja Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja, should be given up as irreligion. Text 13. Religious principles that obstruct one from following his own religion are called vidharma. Religious principles introduced by others are called paradharma. A new type of religion created by one who was falsely proud and who opposes the principles of the Vedas is called upadharma. An interpretation by one's jugglery of words is called chaladharma. Purport. To create a new type of dharma has become fashionable in this age. So-called swamis and yogis support that one must follow any type of religious system according to one's own choice, because all systems are ultimately the same. In Srimad-Bhagavatam, however, such fashionable ideas are called vidharma, because they go against one's own religious system. The real religious system is described by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sarvadharman Parityaja Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja. The real religious system is that of surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord. In the 6th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam, in connection with the Jamil's deliverance, Yamaraj says, Dharmam tu sakshad bhagavat pranitam. Real religion is that which is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just as real law is that which is given by the government. No one can manufacture actual law at home, nor can one manufacture actual religion. Elsewhere it is said, Savai pungsan padob dharmo yato bhaktir atoksaje. The real religious system is that which leads one to become a devotee of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, anything opposed to this religious system of progressive Krishna consciousness is called vidharma, paradharma, upadharma, or chaladharma. Misinterpretation of Bhagavad Gita is chaladharma. When Krishna directly says something and some rascal interprets it to mean something different, this is chaladharma, a religious system of cheating, or shabdabit, a jugglery of words. One should be extremely careful to avoid these various types of cheating systems of religion. Text 14. A pretentious religious system manufactured by one who willfully neglects the prescribed duty of his order of life is called abhasa, a dim reflection or false similarity. But if one performs the prescribed duties for his particular ashram or varna, why are they not sufficient to mitigate all material distresses? Purport. It is indicated here that everyone should strictly follow the principles of varna and ashrama as given in the Shastra. In the Vishnu Purana 389 it is said, Varnashrama charavata purushena padak puman Vishnur aradyate panta nanyat tat toshakaranam. One should focus upon the destination for progress, which is to become Krishna conscious. This is the aim and end of all varnas and ashramas. However, if Vishnu is not worshipped, the followers of the Varnashram institution manufacture some concocted god. This has now become fashionable for any rascal or fool to be elected god, and there are many missionaries who have concocted their own gods, giving up their relationship with the real God. In Bhagavad Gita it is clearly said that one who worships the demigods has lost his intelligence. Nonetheless, we find that even an illiterate person who has lost all intelligence is elected God, and although he has a temple, it has meat-eating sannyasis. and many polluted activities go on there. This type of religious system, which misguides its poor followers, is strictly forbidden. Such pretentious religions should be stopped altogether. The original system is that a Brahmana should actually become a Brahmana. He should not only take birth in a Brahmana family, but must also be qualified. Also, even if one is not born in a Brahmana family, but has Brahminical qualifications, he must be considered a Brahmana. By strictly following this system, one can be happy without extra endeavor. Sabhava vihito dharma kasya neshta prashantaye. The real aim of life is to mitigate distress, and one can do this very easily by following the principles of Shastra. Text 15. Even if a man is poor, he should not endeavor to improve his economic condition just to maintain his body and soul together, or to become a famous religionist. Just as a great python, although lying in one place, not endeavoring for its livelihood, gets the food it needs to maintain body and soul, one who is desireless also obtains his livelihood without endeavor. Purport. Human life is simply meant for developing Krishna consciousness. One need not even try to earn a livelihood to maintain body and soul together. This is illustrated here by the example of the great python, which lies in one place, never going here and there to earn a livelihood to maintain itself, and yet is maintained by the grace of the Lord. As advised by Narada Muni, Tasyaiva heto prayate takovida. One should simply endeavor to increase his Krishna consciousness. One should not desire to do anything else, even to earn his livelihood. There are many, many examples of this attitude. Madhavendra Puri, for example, would never go to anyone to ask for food. Shukadev Goswami has also said, Kasmat bhajanti kabayo danadur madandan. Why should one approach a person who is blind with wealth? Rather, one should depend on Krishna, and he will give everything. All the members of our Krishna consciousness movement, whether they be grihastas or sannyasis, should try to spread the Krishna consciousness movement with determination, and Krishna will supply all necessities. The process of ajagara vritti, the means of livelihood of a python, is very much appreciated in this regard. Even though one may be very poor, he should simply try to advance in Krishna consciousness and not endeavor to earn his livelihood. Text 16. One who is content and satisfied and who links his activities with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, residing in everyone's heart, enjoys transcendental happiness without endeavoring for his livelihood. Where is such happiness for a materialistic man who is impelled by lust and greed, and who therefore wanders in all directions with a desire to accumulate wealth? Text 17. For a person who has suitable shoes on his feet, there is no danger even when he walks on pebbles and thorns. For him, everything is auspicious. Similarly, for one who is always self-satisfied, there is no distress. Indeed, he feels happiness everywhere. Text 18. My dear king, a self-satisfied person can be happy even with only drinking water. However, one who is driven by the senses, especially by the tongue and genitals, one must accept the position of a household dog to satisfy his senses. Purport. According to the Shastras, a Brahmana or a cultured person in Krishna consciousness will not enter anyone's service to maintain body and soul together, and especially not for the satisfaction of the senses. A true Brahmana is always satisfied. Even if he has nothing to eat, he can drink a little water and be satisfied. This is only a matter of practice. Unfortunately, however, no one is educated in how to be satisfied in self-realization. As explained above, a devotee is always satisfied because he feels the presence of the Supersoul within his heart and thinks of him 24 hours a day. That is real satisfaction. A devotee is never driven by the dictations of the tongue and genitals, and thus he is never victimized by the laws of material nature. Text 19. Because of greed for the sake of the senses, the spiritual strength, education, austerity, and reputation of a devotee or brahmana who is not self-satisfied dwindle, and his knowledge gradually vanishes. Text 20. The strong bodily desires and needs of a person disturbed by hunger and thirst are certainly satisfied when he eats. Similarly, if one becomes very angry, that anger is satisfied by chastisement and its reaction. But as for greed, even if a greedy person has conquered all the directions of the world or has enjoyed everything in the world, still he will not be satisfied. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 3:37, it is stated that lust, anger, and greed are the causes of the conditioned soul's bondage in this material world. Kama esha krodha esha rajo guna samudbhavaha. When strong, lusty desires for sense gratification are unfulfilled, one becomes angry. This anger can be satisfied when one chastises his enemy. But when there is an increase in lobha, or greed, which is the greatest enemy caused by Rajaguna, the mode of passion, how can one advance in Krishna consciousness? If one is very greedy to enhance his Krishna consciousness, this is a great boon. Tatralolyam ekalam mulam. This is the best path available. Hare Krishna. Text 21. O King Yudhishthir, many persons with varied experience, many legal advisors, many learned scholars, and many persons eligible to become presidents of learned assemblies fall down into hellish life because of not being satisfied with their positions. Purport. For spiritual advancement, one should be materially satisfied. For if one is not materially satisfied, his greed for material development will result in the frustration of his spiritual advancement. There are two things that nullify all good qualities. One is poverty. Daridradosho gunarashi nashi. If one is poverty-stricken, all his good qualities become null and void. Similarly, if one becomes too greedy, his good qualifications are lost. Therefore, the adjustment is that one should not be poverty-stricken, but one must try to be fully satisfied with the bare necessities of life and not be greedy. For a devotee to be satisfied with the bare necessities is therefore the best advice for spiritual advancement. Learned authorities in devotional life consequently advise that one not endeavor to increase the number of temples and mats. Such activities can be undertaken only by devotees experienced in propagating the Krishna consciousness movement. All the acharyas in South India, especially Sri Ramanujacharya, constructed many big temples, and in North India, all the Goswamis of Vrindavan constructed large temples. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also constructed large centers known as Gaudiya Mats. Therefore, temple construction is not bad, provided proper care is taken for the propagation of Krishna consciousness. Even if such endeavors are considered greedy, The greed is to satisfy Krishna, and therefore these are spiritual activities. Text 22. By making plans with determination, one should give up lusty desires for sense gratification. Similarly, by giving up envy, one should conquer anger. By discussing the disadvantages of accumulating wealth, one should give up greed. And by discussing the truth, one should give up fear. Too, so nice. Can I read that again? You give me permission? Okay. By making plans with determination, one should give up lusty desires for sense gratification. Similarly, by giving up envy, one should conquer anger. By discussing the disadvantages of accumulating wealth, one should give up greed. And by discussing the truth, one should give up fear. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur has suggested how one can conquer lusty desires for sense gratification. One cannot give up thinking of women or thinking in this way is natural. Even while walking on the street, one will see so many women. However, if one is determined not to live with a woman, even while seeing a woman, he will not become lusty. If one is determined not to have sex, he can automatically conquer lusty desires. The example given in this regard is that even if one is hungry, if on a particular day he is determined to observe fasting, he can naturally conquer the disturbances of hunger and thirst. If one is determined not to be envious of anyone, he can naturally conquer anger. Similarly, one can give up the desire to accumulate wealth simply by considering how difficult it is to protect the money in one's possession. If one keeps a large amount of cash with him, he is always anxious about keeping it properly. Thus, if one discusses the advantages of accumulating wealth, he can naturally give up business without difficulty. Text 23. By discussing spiritual knowledge, one can conquer lamentation and illusion. By serving a great devotee, one can become prideless. By keeping silent, one can avoid obstacles on the path of mystic yoga. And simply by stopping sense gratification, one can conquer envy. Let's hear that one again also. These are great verses. By discussing spiritual knowledge, one can conquer lamentation and illusion. By serving a great devotee, one can become prideless. By keeping silent, one can avoid obstacles on the path of mystic yoga. And by simply stopping sense gratification, one can conquer envy. Purport. If one's son has died, one may certainly be affected by lamentation and illusion and cry for the dead son, but one may overcome lamentation and illusion by considering the verses of Bhagavad Gita. Jatasi hi dhruvo mrityur, dhruvam janma mritasya cha. As the soul transmigrates, one who has taken birth must give up the present body, and then he must certainly accept another body. This should be no cause for lamentation. Therefore, Lord Krishna says, Dhiras tatra namuyati. One who is dhira or sober, who is learned in philosophy and established in knowledge, cannot be unhappy over the transmigration of the soul. Text 24. By good behavior and freedom from envy, one should counteract sufferings due to other living entities. By meditation in trance, one should counteract sufferings due to providence. And by practicing Hatha Yoga, Pranayama, and so forth, one should counteract sufferings due to the body and mind. Similarly, by developing the mode of goodness, especially in regard to eating, one should conquer sleep. Purport. By practice, one should avoid eating in such a way that other living entities will be disturbed and suffer. Since I suffer when pinched or killed by others, I should not attempt to pinch or kill any other living entity. People do not know that because of killing innocent animals, they themselves will have to suffer severe reactions from material nature. Any country where people indulge in unnecessary killing of animals will have to suffer from wars and pestilence imposed by material nature. Comparing one's own suffering to the suffering of others, therefore, one should be kind to all living entities. One cannot avoid the sufferings inflicted by providence, and therefore, when suffering comes, one should fully absorb oneself in chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. One can avoid sufferings from the body and mind by practicing mystic Hatha Yoga. Text 25. One must conquer the modes of passion and ignorance by developing the mode of goodness, and then one must become detached from the mode of goodness by promoting oneself to the platform of Shuddha Sattva. All this can be automatically done if one engages in the service of the spiritual master with faith and devotion. In this way, one can conquer the influence of the modes of nature. Purport. Just by treating the root cause of an ailment, one can conquer all bodily pains and sufferings. Similarly, if one is devoted and faithful to the spiritual master, he can conquer the influence of Sattvaguna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna very easily. Yogis and Jnanis practice in many ways to conquer the senses, but the Bhakta immediately attains the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the mercy of the spiritual master. Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasado. If the spiritual master is favorably inclined, one naturally receives the mercy of the Supreme Lord. And by the mercy of the Supreme Lord, one immediately becomes transcendental, conquering all the influences of Sattvaguna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna within this material world. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Sagunan samutijaitan brahmabhuyaya kalpate. If one is a pure devotee, acting under the directions of the Guru, one easily gets the mercy of the Supreme Lord and thus becomes immediately situated on the transcendental platform. This is explained in the next verse. Text 26. The spiritual master should be considered to be directly the Supreme Lord because he gives transcendental knowledge for enlightenment. Consequently, for one who maintains the material conception that the spiritual master is an ordinary human being, everything is frustrated. His enlightenment and his Vedic studies and knowledge are like the bathing of an elephant. Purport. It is recommended that one honor the spiritual master as being on an equal status with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sakshad Dadi Tvena Samasta Shastraihi. This is enjoined in every scripture. Acharyam Mam Bijaniyat. One should consider the Acharya to be as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In spite of all these instructions, if one considers the spiritual master an ordinary human being, one is doomed. His study of the Vedas and his austerities and penances for enlightenment are all useless, like the bathing of an elephant. An elephant bathes in a lake quite thoroughly, but as soon as it comes onto the shore, it takes some dust from the ground and strews it over its body. Thus, there is no meaning to the elephant's bath. One may argue by saying that since the spiritual master's relatives and the men of his neighborhood consider him an ordinary human being, what is the fault on the part of the disciple who considers the spiritual master an ordinary human being? This will be answered in the next verse. But the injunction is that the spiritual master should never be considered an ordinary man. One should strictly adhere to the instructions of the spiritual master. For if he is pleased, certainly the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado yasya prasada nagati katopi. Text 27. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, is the master of all other living entities and of the material nature. His lotus feet are sought and worshipped by great saintly persons like Vyas. Nonetheless, there are fools who consider Lord Krishna an ordinary human being. Purport. The example of Lord Krishna's being the Supreme Personality of Godhead is appropriate in regard to understanding the spiritual master. The spiritual master is called Sevaka Bhagavan, the servitor personality of Godhead, and Krishna is called Savya Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is to be worshipped. The spiritual master is the worshipper God, whereas the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the worshipable God. This is the difference between the spiritual master and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Another point. Bhagavad Gita, which constitutes the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is presented by the spiritual master as it is, without deviation. Therefore, the absolute truth is present in the spiritual master. As clearly stated in text 26, Jnana Deepa Prade. The Supreme Personality of Godhead gives real knowledge to the entire world, and the spiritual master, as the representative of the Supreme Godhead, carries the message throughout the world. Therefore, on the absolute platform, there is no difference between the spiritual master and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If someone considers the Supreme Personality, Krishna or Lord Ramachandra, to be an ordinary human being, this does not mean that the Lord becomes an ordinary human being. Similarly, if the family members of the spiritual master, who is the bona fide representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, consider the spiritual master an ordinary human being, this does not mean that he becomes an ordinary human being. The spiritual master is as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore one who is very serious about spiritual advancement must regard the spiritual master in this way. Even a slight deviation from this understanding can create disaster in a disciple's Vedic studies and austerities. I'll stop here. Hare Krishna. 7:30. Okay. Open mic time. I'm going to make it a little short this time, so get to it because I've got somebody calling me soon. Yes, Tamo, Gopal. Das Brahmachari.
I thought my question was, what are the religious principles?
Oh my God, that's a huge question. I can advise you to go to a library and get a book on it. No, joking. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. All other religious principles are contained within this one religious principle.
Then what's the one religious principle?
Sarva dharma, dharma means religion or faith, religious principles. Sarva dharma parityajya, praja means give them up. Sarva dharma parityajya mam ekam. Mam, it's Krishna speaking in the Bhagavad Gita, it means me. Ekam, only. Sharanam, surrender. The real religious principle, and only religious principle, is to surrender completely to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, who is the source of all forms and manifestations of God, who is the source of the spiritual and material worlds. He is the source of all laws of nature, both spiritual and material. So therefore, our duty and our only duty is actually to surrender to Him. Now you may ask, as I'm sure you would because you're an intelligent brahmachari, well, what about if I have a job and I'm doing that duty? Then you have to offer that to Krishna. You offer that to Krishna by, first of all, thinking that you've been given this duty by Him, because you have, because He's organizing everything. And also you give some of the fruits to Krishna, as much as you can. And if you give all the fruits to Krishna, then you become a pure devotee. Or if you give as much as you can and use the rest of your fruits to make your house a temple and distribute prasadam to other devotees and other people, then you also become a pure devotee. So in other words, the secret to becoming a pure devotee is to give everything to Krishna. Even if you have it on your desk or on your purse, you consider it to belong to Krishna. And then you take care of it really nicely. Like more nicely than you would if you're thinking it's yours. And in that way, everything around you becomes clean, fragrant, nice, attractive. And you can see Krishna everywhere. Everywhere you look, you'll think of Krishna. That is the real religion. Is that okay? Wow, I tell you, this guy. You guys better, we'll save a space for him in the ashram. He can take you guys back to Godhead. You did good. You did good. Both of you. Okay, what else?
I had a question. We heard about...
Bhakta Patrick has a question. Yes. Go ahead.
We heard about different ways to counter certain anarthas that most devotees have and are battling, and there's one that seems kind of subtle and it's harder to catch sometimes or counter, and it's seeking honor or some kind of recognition. Do you have a way to see
Always
that?
Give the credit to someone else. Never take credit yourself. Then you will give up false prestige and the honor for fame, the desire for honor and fame. And how do you do that? You notice. You have to notice things. Just like, the best writers, they're the ones that are the most observant. When they write about something, a person or an event or something, the best writers, they always are the most observant. And therefore in their writing, they paint pictures with their words. When Gopi Pranadana Prabhu translated the Bhagavatamrita, and Jayadvaita Maharaj and I edited the English, the foreword, which was written by, at that time, the top authority in the academic world, in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, he said that the words in this book were not ordinary words, they were picture words.
Because we're so descriptive.
Yeah, and this was Gopi's credit, but also, I helped, but it was Jayadvaita Maharaj really who put the final dot on the I and what we call the polish edit that made it what it is, those two. But Yeah, because if you speak or if you write in a way that the other person that you or persons can visualize, then this is empowered. It's all, I mean, I'm learning this art because I'm doing this art. I'm doing the audiobook in the morning and I'm doing this, and I've been doing it for a long time now. I made my vow 6 years ago to read out loud Prabhupada's books every day. And I've kept it every day without missing, I think 3 or 4 days in 6 years. And I realize now my reading is getting actually more clear. I don't know if any of you who've been listening for a while, it's getting more clear and it's easier to visualize. It's easier to catch it. It's easier to understand. It's easier to relish.
I greatly appreciate that about these readings. They're so they're so clear. I had lectures in the temple the other day, and it was more difficult for me to understand.
Did you hear that?
No.
Did you hear that?
I greatly appreciate these readings because they're so clear to understand, and I can really put myself into it. I had lectures in the temple the other day, and unfortunately, I was struggling to understand, and it lessened the picture in my mind, and it was harder for me to put myself in it. So thus I was less involved, unfortunately. Although I love the scriptures, it was more difficult for me to connect in the temple as opposed to when I'm listening to you speak. So Hare Krishna, thank you very much.
Yeah, well, part of it is the art of speaking, and if you should report this back to Shamsundar. And he knows this. He mentioned it to me, actually. That some of the regular lecture givers, their pronunciation and the thoughts are not so easy especially for Westerners, to understand. So we should report that.
Slowly.
Yeah, and report that a Westerner actually said it openly, and that's very important because we want to make. That's what spreading Krishna consciousness means. Spreading Krishna consciousness means to spread it to the indigenous people wherever you are, wherever the temple is. So this is a very important point. Thank you very much. That was a very good, very important point. Yes. Here we have the mother of Tamal Gopal. And listen up, because she gave us Tamal Gopal.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, earlier you were saying that we should give the credit to others for whatever we do. But practically, I feel it is very hard. Even if at our workplace I have done something and I'm not given the credit, then it is very hard. And even in the spiritual life, if I have done something and not given the credit, it doesn't come out naturally to give the credit to others.
We're not saying it's easy. Krishna doesn't
how to make it easy?
You can't make it easy. You have to surrender to Krishna. Because the fact is, even if you can't give your credit to the person in your office that's doing something, or you're doing it and you're not getting the credit, you have to remember Krishna. You have to remember that the intelligence that you have to do that, and the strength and the resources and everything, where is it coming from? It's coming from God. Therefore, the root of it is to give credit to God, and then gradually, by doing that, like when you pour water on Tulsi, it goes to all the parts of Tulsi, and it goes to your heart, and then you get benefit. It's not easy, all the things that we do, all the rules and regulations that we follow are not meant to be the masters. The devotion is the master. And all of these different rules and regulations are meant to be the servants of devotion. So that's why Sarva Dharma Parichita is so important. If you remember through applying what you hear in the Bhagavad Gita, especially the Bhagavad Gita, because the Bhagavad Gita gives you the practical blueprint for how to live in the world and how to think and feel and will. You know, there's an outline in the Gita, you know, knowledge, activity, worker, understanding, etc., etc., many things. What the symptoms of those things are in goodness, passion, and ignorance. So then you can analyze that. I mean, you're a doctor, psychiatrist, both of you. You know, you have to apply these things into your own character, into your own hearts. And if you do that, you will carry this with you, and you will be able to help your, you know, your patients and whoever else you work with.
So giving credit to Krishna is easy, but if for the same thing something else gets the credit, that's the most painful part.
Then you have to remember that Krishna is in the heart of everyone, and Krishna is giving everyone the intelligence to do what they do, to succeed. If you first thing, if you see someone doing something nice, then you praise them. First step, appreciate when somebody does something nice. And if you get into the habit of doing that whenever you see somebody doing somebody nice, rather than sit back and be envious, it's, oh man, why, like that, then you won't be able to have that. It won't come back to you. It won't come back to you. We used to, when we were going out and distributing books every day for a long time, I learned this thing, that the consciousness that I'm in was the kind of person that used to come. If I, got out of bed in the wrong side of the wrong side of the bed in the morning, that's a poetic saying that things didn't go so well in the morning. My sadhana wasn't so nice, or whatever. Then, and I was a little grouchy or not nice. Then, those kinds of people would come to me, and it would have a miserable day. And if I was in good consciousness, then people would come to me that would be more receptive and take books. Everything comes from our consciousness, and everything comes from Krishna.
I think I didn't frame my question well. Say if she's my colleague and we do something and 90% was done by me, but she gets the whole credit in the end, then that's what hurts me the most.
That means envy.
Yeah. So how to get rid of
Give
that?
up the envy.
Because it's such a awful feeling
Give
to
up
have.
the envy. Because when something makes you feel bad continuously or regularly, and you hold on to it, then if something makes you, if you're thinking some way or doing something and it makes you feel bad every time, and you still do it, then what? It means you're stupid. So you have to get intelligence. Tesham satati yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam. Buddhi means intelligence. You need spiritual intelligence to be able to do that. And spiritual intelligence only can come from the Supersoul. The form direction from the Supersoul to the soul is spiritual intelligence. So you have to pray to Krishna, you have to go to Krishna, and you have to say, oh my God, please, I don't want to feel like this. Help me. That is the way. And simultaneously, you've got Krishna's instructions in the Gita, how to feel, how to do. If you read the Gita regularly, I would suggest that you read a chapter of the Gita every day. Just the verses. Takes 15-20 minutes every day. Read carefully, and then go to the next chapter. Every 18 days you'll hear the whole Gita, and because you're highly educated, what will happen is you will be able to see the patterns, and you will be able to see how the teaching is a whole teaching rather than just one verse, and taking it out of context, or if you see the whole thing put together, it will help you so much. It will give you intelligence. If Krishna sees you're serious about hearing from him, then he'll give you the intelligence. It works like that. That's the way it works.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Okay. It is now 10 minutes to 8, and I gotta do something at 8. So, unless there's somebody in the...
There was 2 on here.
2, okay. Cyberspace is speaking.
First, we have Vijaya Lakshmi. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Vijay Lakshmi.
Please
She's from Bangalore.
Please accept my humble obeisances. A Grihasta spiritual master will be going through all the tribulations of an ordinary Grihasta. Isn't it more difficult to be a spiritual master? Will he be fully purified? Forgive me for this question.
You're forgiven. There's no reason to forgive. It's a great question. Actually, in certain sampradayas, they don't allow anybody but grihastas to initiate. So, it depends on where you are and, who your spiritual master is and what sampradaya you're in. But Lord Chaitanya explained that anyone can become a spiritual master from any position as long as they know the science of Krishna. So if a person repeats what Krishna says without changing it, they can be a spiritual master. Vachu vegam manasakroda vegam jiva vegam udupasta vegam. That's the first verse of the Upadeshamrita, and there it describes the urges that one must control. Vacho vegam. What you say, your words. Manasakroda, manasa, the mind. Kroda, the anger. The belly. The genitals. All these things, if one can control them, then pritivim sashishat. Pritivim sashishat means that you can make disciples all over the world. So this is the point. If a person can control the senses, then and the mind and the urges, then he can make disciples. It doesn't make any difference whether they're grihasta or sannyasi or this or that. It may be true that on one level it's harder to control the senses if you're a grihasta, because man and women living together, the tendency to have sense gratification is stronger. But if one understands the science of Krishna consciousness and controls those things, then it doesn't make any difference whether the sannyasi or grihasta or vanaprastha or brahmachari, they can act as guru. So again, it goes to your thing. Yes, it may be more difficult, but just because it's difficult means that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it or they can't do it. When the householder Kurma, the Kurma Brahmana in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya, when he was going to South India, when he was touring South India, he went to his house and he stayed there for the rainy season, 4 months. Can you imagine having Lord Chaitanya in your house for 4 months? Mm-hmm. How attached you would be to him? I mean, it's inconceivable. Mm-hmm. So when he was going, it's time to go, the Kurma Brahma just started walking with him, And Lord Chaitanya said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm going with you. I can't live without you. You're expecting me to live without you?" And Lord Chaitanya stopped in his tracks and he said, "No, you're going to stay here." And then he chanted the verse, "And you're going to be guru. You stay here and teach what I taught you to your family members, to the village, to the local people." Okay, Rati.
Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you for this extraordinary shower of excellent wisdom, which, when followed...
You see? it's harder. It's even harder when you get stuff like this coming at you. You understand? You just consider yourself lucky. When you get this kind of stuff coming at you, it's very hard to not take credit. And I think every time, when I have every once a year, your birthday party, they come and they worship you and everything. And I sit there and I just pray constantly, oh Srila Prabhupada, you know the truth about me. You just accept this on behalf, this is just for you. Please make me a conduit, and like that. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to distract you with the question.
Shower of excellent wisdom, which, when followed, will surely uplift us. If you don't mind sharing this, would you please tell us which principle or instruction has a special meaning to you? I mean, from what we have heard tonight.
Every single one of them. Every single one of them equally. No favorite instruction. You get into the mentality of having a favorite instruction, then you're on your way to being in a cult, in a sect. Because a sect means that you take a teaching, and you take one thing out of the teaching, and you make that the whole thing. And if you look carefully at all of the texts that have come out from the main, religious teachers that have come in the earth, the bona fide ones, you'll see that that's what the sects are. Each time they branch off, they take, one thing or two things, and they make that the whole thing. Pearl of wisdom. Take it or leave it. Okay, I'm going to go now. Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees who ask all these lovely questions and mine the jewels and the gold in these scriptures. Gaur Premanandi, Hari Bol. See you tomorrow night, same time, same place, same station. Okay.